Shh, everybody, it's coming on.
Can somebody tell me what the hell is going on? Mitch, help me out here.
Quiet! You're missing the jokes!
That stunk!
Well, what did everybody think? So, it was pretty okay, huh? Well, at least I liked it. Didn't I?
We saw Star Wars The Last Jedi. I was so excited about this movie. I mean, everyone that loves Star Wars was excited about this movie. I heard...
It's impossible to not be excited about The Last Jedi.
Exactly right. We heard...
You're a monster if you're not excited.
Exactly right. We heard it was as good as The Return of the Jedi... Empire Strikes Back. And we're like, whoa, okay, well, fuck.
I never believed that first. I was so skeptical.
Look, yeah, I was skeptical, but I thought I was in for a good ride. We start the movie with a fantastic opening. It feels very reminiscent of the kind of Return of the Jedi. It had that Star Wars essence to it.
It did. Just a super pause, by the way. This is a spoiler-full discussion. So lots of spoilers. If you do not want to have anything spoiled, just click away now because from now on in, it's all spoilers.
All spoilers, Pete.
Who'd have thought Darth Vader was Luke Skywalker's father?
Thank you, Mr. Blow the Picture for me.
Then it kind of goes on, and then... it just gets from that battle, and I even turned around. I was like, wow, that's a great opening. I'm really excited now for this film. It's going to be fucking great. Then it just gets worse and worse and more cringy and so detached from what you'd expect from a Star Wars film.
It's interesting because Sam really hated this film, and I actually didn't mind it. I thought it was not terrible. And I understand why someone would hate this film because I think it misses a lot of beats. It has some atrocious moments, but I think it absolutely has some great moments as well. The opening scene is an example of an awesome moment. There's like this bomber that's trying to be able to unload a payload onto a dreadnought. The stakes are really high. Like, it's just such a perfectly framed scene with the action and the tension and the characters, and all of it was brilliant. Like, it was a brilliant opening.
It was a brilliant opening, I'll give it that.
And
definitely.
then soon after that, it transitions into perhaps what I think is the lowest moment in the history of Star Wars. The absolute lowest moment.
And we're talking about, of course, Leia,
who gets sucked down into space.
Okay, so we thought because of the actor died this year, as we all know.
Carrie Fisher.
We thought Carrie Fisher, that's a great... Carrie, good old Carrie, our mate Carrie. She, it was a good ending. It was a way in which her son, Ben Solo, had to make a decision. Is he going to kill his mother? He, of course, didn't kill his mother, and then his squadron had to kill her. She gets sucked out. There's a little moment after where she's floating in space.
She's clearly dead.
And she's clearly dead, people. You can even see the friggin' frost on her face and shit. Then, all of a sudden... she's come alive again, and she's flying through space.
Doing these ones, like...
And at that point, I'm just like, I was like, is this a
dream sequence?
Is this her, like, departing from the world because she's also part of the Force? But no. She puts her hand on the glass like Titanic or some shit. She comes back to life. And at that moment, I was like, I'm in for a shit ride here.
Whoa. This can't be what it looks like. There's gotta be some other explanation.
I wish there was some other explanation for this. But there isn't. I'm a murderer. I'm a murderer. I'm a diddly-erdler!
I lost a lot of hope in that moment as well.
This is weird shit.
It was a big disappointment. And I think everyone on the internet was just like, oh no, please, why did you do that?
Yes.
Like, everyone who even might have liked this movie is even there like, you know what? That was absolutely terrible. So.
And I think I really want to also just say for the record that I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I did not want to trash this.
Sam's seen the movie like 3 times.
I've seen Return of the Jedi I've seen half of it and I liked it. No, kidding.
It's really good. I love the Ewoks. They weren't as good as Jar Jar.
I love Jar Jar.
But they were pretty cool.
Let's face it, like, we are both hardcore Star Wars fans. We never wanted to actually trash a Star Wars film, but it's just
Happily
so
trashed the prequels.
It's so off base. Like, it's just so...
I see, Sam and I have different views on this because Sam hated this film. I didn't think this film was that bad. I feel like its highs were some of the highest highs in the history of Star Wars. I feel like its lows were absolutely, unquestionably the lowest lows
of
in Star
movie
Wars
history. Of
it was
movie
like expanded universe novel quality writing and setups. It was
Okay.
like so outlandish and ridiculous, some of the stuff that was going on.
I'm going to just throw some things out right now that I think everyone's going to agree with because they're on the same planet as me and they've seen the film. Number one, who the hell was Snoke? He was some textbook villain that was there for a moment, died just as quickly. You knew nothing about him. He didn't really matter. He was like, they tried to like put him in like Emperor Palpatine kind of thing.
It was super disposable.
Super disposable. You did not care. He died like that and everyone's like, okay, like whatever. It was just a really weak supervillain. This whole idea with like the interpretation of Luke Skywalker in this new film.
Yeah, because Mark Hamill was pretty famously said to the director, I fundamentally disagree with the way that you have written this character. But now my job is to deliver on your vision of this character as an actor, right? So Mark Hamill basically saying, this character, I don't like him. I think this is wrong. I think what you're doing to Luke Skywalker is wrong, and I have to agree with him on balance.
Luke Skywalker was more than a character. You know, he is in so many... I know this sounds a bit cheesy, but he is in so many people's hearts in terms of he represents so many great things.
In this movie, he was just this crotchety old man. That
Yeah.
was like, I don't want to help anyone. I just want to sit here and do nothing.
I mean, look, I
He was
feel...
a jerk.
I feel like the wisdom of... the wisdom of Luke you would have expected would have, you know, exponentially grew as he became older and as he became more of a Jedi in his ways.
And he was portrayed as really fickle and sort of foolish because, like,
Yes.
Yoda still had to be like, listen, man, they're just books. Don't worry about the books in the temple. They're really dumb, you know? Like, it showed that almost Luke had learned nothing over his whole time since he'd finished in Jedi, you know?
If anything, he'd actually become disillusioned.
Obviously.
Of course, but, like, to a point where he was no longer the Luke we knew.
But I would say that the way that they told the story about him and Ben, and the whole idea that he like held the lightsaber over his body and was going to kill him and everything, that was kind of cool. I like that story arc because it showed there were different perspectives on that. It all went down in certain ways, misunderstandings. I think that was a really good thing, and I think it added a lot of depth to the character, but I don't like how that character responded to that circumstance, like just giving up on everything.
That's right. I don't think that's actually Luke Skywalker because he was the one that always had this sense of hope and he held everything together, you know, and he was now the one that was actually... He was the one releasing the energy of it's all lost, don't worry about it, you know, I'm never doing anything again with Jedi. It just wasn't what we wanted. I wanted a bit more of a Yoda, where yes, I think they tried to do the whole Yoda, the cranky old man, but Yoda had a sense of wisdom and optimism in him. He had a sense of everything that good never dies, you know. He had a sense of hope and aged wisdom that draws you to Yoda. Where Luke, you weren't drawn to...
You didn't want to hang out with him.
You didn't want to hang out with him. You did not feel like you were gaining something internally by being around that character.
But regardless, the movie really dragged at the middle section. Like, it had basically the storyline was two storylines. One, Rey was going off hanging out with Luke and trying to convince him to be a nice guy, and he was refusing. And two, the rebellion or the resistance fleet was fleeing from the First Order, the Empire, right? Which is basically the same plot that we saw in Empire Strikes Back, mind you, where Luke was going to go train with Yoda, and Han and Leia and Chewie and etc. were basically fleeing from the Imperial fleet, trying to take refuge in Cloud City, and then Luke comes and, you know, they all have a big fight together. So it's the same sort of thing. I find that little story arc a little bit disappointing, but regardless, the middle part of the movie was just boring because it was kind of like they go to this weird casino town, and it's kind of like, oh, we're all against wealth and decadence, and then there's this random horse race in the middle, and the horses come and trample everything, and it's just so random. The whole thing is so random, and then ultimately it leads to nothing because they find this spy guy who gets them somewhere, who doesn't even deliver what he was meant to deliver, and then they're back at square one anyway. That's true.
The whole thing in the middle with Finn was actually for nothing. It didn't even take us on a journey, I feel, that was worth tuning in for. It did show that young boy and how he still had hope, and he had the ring on. He put the ring on, and it showed a bit more of the Star Wars world in terms of a rich side of the universe. But like, it didn't add anything to it. Didn't add anything, I don't think.
No, I agree. And like at the end of the day, they then get to this battle on this planet, which is basically a Hoth battle.
It's so hot.
It just looked so
terrible.
hot. It was like white, and it was like the AT-ATs coming forward, and the Rebel Alliance like lining up in the trenches, and it's off we go. And then they have the battle with the speeders and everything. Sure, whatever. And then Luke comes out, and the whole thing where like Luke, you know, it gets shot at by a million different cannons, and then he does these ones at the end.
Yeah, he does this weird thing.
I was just like,
it's like
eye roll.
You know, there's a time and place, and it's never really a time and place for Luke to do that, actually. But like,
Never.
it's just not. It's not Star Wars. It didn't have the Star Wars essence, especially in those parts there where you would expect Luke to be like fucking Jedi and shit. He's like doing this shit. Like, come on, man.
I feel like the whole humor of all the humor in the movie sucked. There was like maybe one joke that landed correctly. Every other joke was just like, please, that is terrible. Do not do that. That is not funny. Like, there's one where BB-8 is shooting coins out of him at a bad guy, you know, like one of the troopers or whatever, and the bad guy's like, oh no, coins,
Yes.
oh shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're just like,
it looks
come
like
on,
one
man.
of those stupid commercials where they show like why something's so hard to use,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
they show
they
it in
do.
the actual color, putting cups away, and they fall all over you.
When you're down and troubled and you need a helping hand and nothing is going right.
But I will say that there were some things that really landed with me.
I'd love to hear this. I'd love to hear this. Go.
I think the relationship with Kylo and with Rey is awesome. I think it's so fascinating. There's so many layers to that relationship, you know, and the way that they handled it in terms of them speaking to each other across the Force, dealing with the different story about how Kylo became Kylo, you know, Rey's parents and the fact that they were just nobodies, and she was really hopeful that they were somebody. We were hoping that they were, you know, Jedis themselves, that
Or
like it was
maybe
actually Luke's, you know, it was Luke's daughter. All these ideas, and like, no, it's not. You're just a nobody, but you just happen to be strong with the Force. Join with me and we'll be able to bring order to the galaxy because I've just killed the bad guy and we can be good together, you know? I like that idea, and I like that whole scene that they had together with Snoke, and, you know, the fight they had afterwards and the fight they had together. All of that stuff I felt added a lot of maturity and depth to that story and to the movie overall, and it was a big departure from where a lot of us thought it would go.
I agree with that, but I also have to counteract that by saying that there was a lot of confusion about who's the love interest, you know?
Yeah, but like that's...
Is
I
it
agree with
Finn?
that.
Is it
Finn likes the
Ben
Asian girl, the Asian
Solo?
girl likes Finn, Poe seems to hit on Rey,
It's
Rey
just
seems
everywhere.
to like Finn.
It's
you
just
know?
one big Star Wars orgy and everyone's invited to use the Force. You know, but like, it's just weird. It's just weird.
So, I mean, overall though, I feel like it was a departure from The Force Awakens. The Force Awakens was essentially a New Hope 2.0. It was just a carbon copy of the first movie. Whereas this felt like it was going a different direction. It still hit a lot of the same beats in terms of like rebels fleeing from Empire, you know, Jedi being trained by Jedi Master, but they told it in a different way, and I feel like it took enough of its own steps. But overall, though, I think that I found it enjoyable, but I don't think it was a good Star Wars film.
Would you see it again?
I would see it again, to be honest with you, just to like appreciate it more and look into some of the details again. But I don't think, oh my god, I had to see it again because it's so fucking awesome. I really don't feel that
I would
way at
not
all.
see that movie again. Look, anyone that likes Star Wars, of course, you've got to tick it off the bucket list of Star Wars. You've got to see the movie. You've got to understand the next part of how they've realized more of the Star Wars world, 100%. But is it something I think that adds to the world of Star Wars? Not really. I think if anything it detracts because it steals yet again more magic from the previous 3 films. You know, just like 1, 2, and 3 did. It actually chipped away slightly at the magic of 4, 5, and 6. And I feel like this has done the same thing.
I'm interested to hear your perspectives on it in the comments below, because I know I've spoken to some people that say it's better than Empire, it's the best Star Wars film ever made. I think those people are insane. I've spoken to other people, Sam, who's like, it's the worst Star Wars film yet.
I think most people in this comment section will either say, look, or they'll say it was terrible. I don't think... Maybe there's going to be some people there that say it was a fantastic film.
Some people absolutely love this film.
look,
a lot of people love this film.
All I want to say is the people that say that they love this film, fair enough. Who am I to tell you that this isn't a good Star Wars movie? I just feel like my personal opinion is it didn't do it for me. I felt like it was way off base, but some people might have loved this film. And look,
Sam's favourite Star Wars film was the Phantom Menace anyways. So
yeah, 100%.
you can
I
use
love
that
Jar
as a
Jar Binks.
yardstick.
I love Jar
That's
Jar
right.
Binks.